Yeah,
Hey Duncan, how's it going?
pretty good.
Where are you?
I'm on in Qualicum today. I was in Tofino yesterday. I'm sorting out getting a new car, so
Oh yeah, what are you gonna get?
I'm getting another Toyota Highlander hybrid. So it just arrived yesterday. So
Is it electric motor or is it like the
no, it's not a plug-in. It just runs off the engine.
well, now I can't see my clock anywhere. Just a sec.
It's 4:27.
I don't know why it's not showing up on my screen here. Ah, there we go. Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Somebody's got the flag behind him. That's good.
Gotta have it.
Gotta have it. And 7. Down to the wire. Who's I have 9 screens. Anybody else?
Like we have 4 council members, so we have quorum.
Al knows. I told Al, but he's very, very, very busy.
Yeah, Dan, I'm coming to you from the big city of Gimli, Manitoba right now.
No
I'm
kidding.
in a time zone, literally. I know you mostly think generally, but right now I actually am in a different time zone.
Gimli.
Yeah. Now we're north of Winnipeg on the 250-mile long Lake Winnipeg.
Gimli.
Oh, you're always in a different time zone to everybody else.
Yeah, I knew he was going to say that.
I was just up in Dawson Creek. Was it? Did we already? Maybe I already told you that. No, I was up in Dawson Creek the day after. Actually, I left. I flew out of Fort St. John. The next morning, there was a forest fire, closed the highway. Crazy time.
Yeah, Ethan got a job. He's already started work.
Up there, is he firefighting? Hopefully it rains. Okay, who are we missing? We've got
Is Councillor Anderson.
Councillor Sawyer, Councillor Stewart, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Sloman. Councillor Anderson is aware, but he's very, very busy, as I said. So what we're going to do is we'll start the meeting. We won't wait for him. He knows it's a pretty sparse meeting anyway, so maybe he's caught up. Not that it's not important. It is important. Good, 30 more seconds. Okay, we'll carry on. And if he shows up, he shows up. So I call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the District of Tofino operates within the territory of the Tla-o-qui-aht First Nation, Tla-o-qui-aht. Notice to attendees that meeting is being video recorded and will be published on the District of Tofino's YouTube channel. Notice to virtual attendees to sign up for public comment and question period using the Q&A function in Zoom. To register, participants are required to enter their full name, residential address, and the agenda item they wish to speak to. Through unanimous consent, if there are no objections, I'll move that pursuant to Section 15 of the District of Tofino Meeting Procedure Bylaw number 1229, 2016 is amended, the May 6, 2025 special meeting be held electronically via Zoom and live broadcasted on the District of Tofino's YouTube channel, and that the facility provided for the public to watch and hear the meeting be located at Clayoquot Sound Theatre, 380 Campbell Street in Tofino, BC. Seeing no objection, that motion is carried. Also, through unanimous consent, if there are no objections, I'll move that the May 6, 2025 Special Council agenda be adopted. Seeing no objections, that motion is carried. So we're on to public comment and agenda items. Mr. McCall.
Thank
Do
you,
we have
Mayor.
anybody signed up?
Thank you, Mayor Law. I will now do an open call for comment. If there's anyone attending online via Zoom that would like to make a comment, you can do so now using the Q&A function. Before making a comment, you will need to state your name, your address, and the agenda item you're speaking to. I'll now do an open call going once, calling twice, calling 3 times. No current comments at this time, Mayor Law.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll move on to correspondence. And we have one piece of correspondence, a letter from Clayoquot Biosphere Trust, and it's regarding a request for a letter of support. And I do have a draft motion. So I'll look for comments from council if there are any. Now's the time. Otherwise, if I get a little nod from everybody, I can read the draft motion. Councillor Anderson, great to see you. Okay. With no further ado, the draft motion is from the chair. I move that Mayor Law be authorized to sign a letter of support for the Clayoquot Biosphere Trust's grant application regarding their 25-year celebration event. Seconded by Councillor Steer. Any further comments? All in favor? None opposed? If you don't stick your hand up, you're in favor. Opposed? I should say opposed. Councillor Anderson, you're good? Frozen. Okay, that motion's carried. Okay, moving on. We have presentations reports. We have Mr. Parcell with Tourism Tofino annual report and Tourism Tofino audited financial statements.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bylaw. Thanks, Council and everybody, for having me. I know some of you have seen me a lot lately with all the engagement we've been doing, so I'll try to keep this brief. We have another event tomorrow. Let me see if I can pull up my screen here. Cool. Is that in presenter mode? Yes, amazing. All right, awesome. So yeah, we do this every year. Some of you might have come to our annual general meeting, and so this is going to be a bit of a do-over for those of you who were there. But this is looking backwards at the year 2024. We're going to have a quick peek at the audited financial statements for Tourism Tofino, look at some top-line visitation indicators for 2024, which is a little light compared to my last presentation. And then just some of our operational highlights that we use the MRDT for. So we'll just jump straight in. Yeah, this is the statement of operations. Like any not-for-profit that's predominantly government funded, we're audited every year. And a couple of notes on this. So the MRDT amounts do not include the $400,000 that was held back for the wastewater treatment plant. And probably the first thing that you will go to is see that we lost $160,000, and you're probably wondering why. That was very, very deliberate. Tourism Tofino in 2022 had a surplus of revenues over expenses just because visitation spiked, and we spent most of 2022 without an executive director in the chair. And so we did have a big surplus that year, and so the board of Tourism Tofino has been quite thoughtful about how we spend that surplus in line with the MRDT program. And so you're starting to see, and you'll likely see that in 2025 as well. We'll probably end up in an operating deficit, but it's really just spending down a surplus that's been accumulated. we're able to put some more money into our core functions and a big spike in research, which is what I presented to you last week. Moving on to the balance sheet, there's not a huge amount of stuff to talk about here, but cash is significantly down year over year. Again, that was very, very deliberate. So we've created a new internally restricted reserve of $150,000, which is our new emergency marketing fund. So if we get stuck in a situation like we did in 2023, where we need to do an emergency campaign or pivot, that we actually have some funds available for that, and topped up some of our other reserves and spent some of that money down. And that's just on the liability side there. So there is still that deferred MRDT from the visitor center from the previous MRDT period as well. Anyway, that's kind of the boring stuff, but I'm obviously happy to answer any questions you have. If we move into the visitation indicators, this is from the BC government, from BC Stats. And so this is hotel revenue in millions of, so it's 112 million in 2024. And what you'll see from the next slide here is, so obviously hotel revenue is a function of how many nights were sold, or occupancy versus the rate times the rate. And really the story, there we go. Really, the story in Tofino is that from 2023 to 2024, hotel occupancy was relatively flat. So the big spike that you're seeing in hotel revenue is actually more to do with rates, specifically in the peak summer season, than it is actually to do with more bodies on the ground. That may be a very different story this summer, but we will see. It's all signs are pointing to a busy summer. And then as we do, and for those who subscribe to our industry newsletter, you get to see this every month, but we actually break down hotel occupancy into the different months of the year. And I've got the last 2 years there for comparison. So again, 2022 is our record year for occupancy and hotel revenue. You see 2023 coming off that a bit, especially the dip there in June that we all remember from the highway closing, and then the green line is 2024, and taking away the dip in June, it's a fairly similar trajectory of hotel occupancy over the last 3 years. So into what we did as Tourism Tofino. So most of you know we have 3 major service delivery areas. We do destination marketing, we do what we now call destination stewardship, which is destination management, destination development, and community outreach. And then we also run the visitor services program as well. So we'll take them in turn. As you all know, our goal here with marketing is to drive visitation between October and May. We have not marketed summer for years and years and years and years now. Some of the highlights from our marketing program last year, many of you will be aware that we launched a brand new Tourism Tofino website in June or July 2024. That was a massive undertaking for our organization, and we're really, really proud of the results. The website is where we send a lot of digital traffic from social media or from paid advertising campaigns, and really the goal there was to create a new website that was much, much more user-friendly, easy to get around, and you can get to the information you're looking for in the least amount of clicks. It's very, very clean. We have a whole bunch of new photography and content on there. And a big shout out to Clayoquot First Nation for all the collaboration on the Indigenous content. We delivered paid campaigns. We still target predominantly BC, Edmonton, Calgary, and the greater Seattle area. We do a spring campaign, and then we do an integrated fall-winter campaign. So there's 2 major campaigns that we do and that's delivered mostly as paid digital content. We relaunched our consumer e-newsletter last year after the launch of our website. So again, rebuilding our direct audience where we don't have to pay Meta and Google to reach those people. So it's a critical part of what we do. We're still seeing some growth on social media, which is great, and travel media is still a big part of what we do. So we actually hosted 19 journalists as Tourism Tofino throughout 2024 and supported a whole bunch of others from partners. And those 19 journalists resulted in 53 placements, reaching over 35 million people with an advertising equivalent of about 1.7 million. So it's a pretty phenomenal program we have with earned media. that was very, very quick, but those were kind of the highlights. Happy to answer any questions about marketing. We'll jump straight into visitor services, and this is, you'll hear me say this every year, is really a critical part of what Tourism Tofino does. A lot of the marketing is about enticing people here and helping them plan their trip, but actually, you know, servicing the visitors when they're in destination is incredibly important for a number of reasons. We can influence how they spend their money and what they do, but more importantly, we can tell stories and set expectations around responsible visitation and things like that. The numbers of the visitor center have been a little all over the map in the last 5 or 6 years. The pandemic had a lot to do with that, but just like hotel occupancy, you know, relatively flat, sort of year over year with a little bit of an increase. And that's, we have a door counter at the door of the visitor center, so it's a pretty accurate number of how many human beings that were in the visitor center last year. And then in terms of some other highlights there, you know, as part of our commitment to being an accessible destination, I think you're all familiar with the beach wheelchair program. There are 165 days of use for those wheelchairs in 2024. So it's a program that continues to be incredibly popular and gets more and more folks to experience parts of Tofino that they couldn't otherwise. Again, you'll be very familiar with the Washed Up Wednesdays program, you know, where we're getting visitors to pick up, you know, almost 3,000 pieces of marine debris from our beaches year over year. Once again, we collaborated with CBT on the Truth, Honor, and the Way Forward exhibition. That's been a big part of the visitor center, is really trying to activate it and have learning and education opportunities for visitors taking place in there. And that's a really big one that we're proud of. Folks may not know, but we collaborated with the Tofino Arts Council last year and leveraged our e-commerce store where we sell some gift store stuff online, and we were actually able to create a Indigenous pop-up e-store for the Christmas holidays, where Indigenous artists in the region could sell their stuff online, which was pretty cool. And then destination stewardship, led by Jody on our team, is, you know, really looking at the supply side of the equation. So what's happening on the ground? How do we manage the destination? How do we steward it for future generations? And there's been way too much work going on for me to capture in a few minutes here, but, you know, we continue to administer the Tourism Tofino Scholarship Program, trying to engage our youth in the tourism industry. And so $20,000 worth of scholarships were awarded last year to graduates of USS. Most of you on the call know that we are deep into the renewal of the 2014 Tofino Tourism Master Plan, and that work started last year and continues into this year. The research I presented last week was substantially completed last year, and so there's a lot of things in there for us. And we also did our very first brand awareness study, so surveying 1,600 people in British Columbia about what they thought about Tofino as a destination. And a shameless plug, if you're interested in that, you can come down to Tinwis tomorrow at 9 a.m. where we're presenting all of this in a deep dive. Obviously, one of the big things that our two organizations did with the Chamber of Commerce was really dial up our water conservation messaging, particularly our in-destination water conservation messaging. Of course, we all know we had the rainiest summer ever last year, so we didn't really need it, but that may not be the case this summer. And so I think we're really in good shape in terms of water conservation messaging. And then we did our first season. We've now done 2 with the Travel Beyond podcast. So it was a really great way to give local leaders, particularly Indigenous leaders, a platform. And we've just released the second season a month or 2 ago. So that is, in a very lightning round, some of the highlights of Tourism Tofino, our audited financials, some of the top line data. Obviously there was a lot of stuff I presented last week around what happened last year as well, but I'm absolutely happy to answer any questions any of you folks have. Thank you so much.
Excellent, Mr. Parcell. Oh, wait until I can see everybody here. Oh, no, I have just you. Well, it's probably me here. There we go. Super duper. I'll look for comments from council, but I just want to say that I'm so sorry I missed your presentation. The last meeting, I was on an airplane. I got in just at closed, but I did read and reread and reread the report, and it was great to read that. So thank you very much. Just I don't see any councillors' hands up, but I do have one hand. I have one question. I think just for clarification, 2023 was a record for occupancy, but 2024 was a record for revenue. Is that right?
2022 was the record for occupancy, and 2024 was the record for revenue.
Oh, 2022. Okay, all right, that's good right there.
Yeah.
2022 for revenue, because I know our OAP was also up, so that was a very good year last year. It was a fine year. Open up to council. Once, twice, thrice. Okay, excellent. Good work. Proud of Tourism Tofino. Let's move on to bylaws. And these are for adoption. So 7.1, District of Tofino 2025-2029 Financial Plan Bylaw. Comments or questions from council before this bylaw is read for adoption? Once, twice, thrice. Okay. Would councillor like to read a 7.1, the recommendation?
Sure, I'll read that the District of Tofino 2025 through 2029 Financial Plan Bylaw number 1353/2025 be adopted.
Seconded by Councillor McMaster. Beat you to it. You'll get another chance. Any further comments? All in favor? None opposed. Motion's carried. Okay, Councillor Steer, go ahead with 7.2 if there are no more comments or questions from council. Once, twice, thrice, seeing none. Councillor Steer.
That the District of Tofino 2025 Annual Tax Rates Bylaw number 1354/2025 be adopted.
You got it that time, Councillor Thomas. Seconded by Councillor Thomas. Any comments from council? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Excellent. Moving on to question period. Mr. McCall, do we have anybody signed up for questions?
Thank you, Mayor Law. No one signed up for questions right now, but I will do an open call to folks online attending via Zoom. For those who do wish to make a question, if there's anyone attending online via Zoom, please use the Q&A function. Before asking a question, you will need to state your name, your address, and the agenda item you're speaking to. I will now do a calling once, calling twice, calling thrice. There are no questions at this time, Mayor Law.
Excellent. Once, twice, thrice. Great. Well, then we'll move on to adjournment. So I'll move from the chair adjournment. So need a seconder. Second by Councillor Steer. All in favor? None opposed. Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.